Cherry, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, let's roll. Ready? All right. I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order for August 31st, 2023, for the Oconee County PRT Commission. We'll call this meeting to order. I'd like to thank all of our guests who are here in the audience to be here for the meeting for today. Next up will be the approval of our minutes. I think everybody has a copy of our minutes. Yeah, I think just 30 seconds to look it over, or we good? Or?
Make a motion, we approved as read.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor? Okay. Next up will be our treasurer's report. Phil?
Yes, sir. In front of you, you have a treasurer's report that should match what's on the screen. You can see on the local ATAX side, the encumbrances, starting balance and encumbrances. This does not cover any of the anticipated revenue for this year. So you'll notice on your sheet, I've got anticipated revenue for this year at about $1,050,000. So that does not cover that in this layout. That's just showing you where we are currently, and then that revenue will be coming in through the months between now and next June.
Okay.
So, we operate, usually about a month and a half, 2 months behind. So this is kind of the end of the fiscal year from June 30th, and kind of a snapshot of where we are. And then as the checks start rolling in for July, it'll start changing a little bit for the revenue for this upcoming year. So that's kind of where we are, on the books. And then on the state aid tax side, you can see how that money flows in and flows out. That's what we use to operate Visit Oconee. Any questions on the treasurer's report?
We good?
Just as a reminder, before we kind of get into the grants, this group approved a new eligibility policy that started in the spring, that changed our reporting to 180 days instead of 60 days. I think that helps our applicants, but we also added a clause in there that if you're not in compliance, you would not be eligible to ask for grants. I'm happy to report there's no one that is not in compliance today, so everyone is in compliance.
Good.
And this does help us get those reports in as needed so that they can continue asking for future grants, so I appreciate that. Would you like me to keep going?
Yeah, go for it.
All right.
Roll, yeah.
So we're gonna roll through, we have 13 grant recommendations, today. There's a total of $116,810 in request. There's 112,000 in eligible request, and, based on our budget, we're gonna do $60,000 again this cycle. We've been very fortunate. At the November meeting coming up, I'll kind of get into some of the data, of where we are from our local ATAX and how good it's been to us and some of the things we've been able to do. Today, we just want to kind of focus on the grants, but you've got $60,000 to work with. Here's the layout of all of those grants, and just like normal, I'll go through each slide. I'll present the data. If you have any questions, I will attempt to answer. If there's a member of the audience that's here, we'll let them answer. And then once we're done, we'll get to that spreadsheet where we'll kind of start looking at recommendations. And since we're doing it all today, we don't have anything else on the agenda. That way we don't take too much time, and we're able to work our way through the process. So in front of you, you have a spreadsheet that shows today's numbers. If you can jot down and play with, so we pull that up on the screen later, you can kind of do that. Also, the highlighted spreadsheet is last year's grants. So one of you requested to see that, thought that might help. So that's last year's numbers, very similar grant and numbers that we gave out last year. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll just jump through and start. These are in alphabetical order. The first one is the City of Seneca. This is their application for the 5K half marathon for advertising. You can see last year they had over 800 participants. It continues to grow, take up all of 4th Street when they take off. They're in front of Shaver Complex. The total event budget, you can see what that is. You can see the total marketing budget. 63% of the people that ran last year were tourists, so it's a very good representation of the numbers. So they are eligible for the entire $10,000 that they're asking for. Any questions on that grant? Okay. The next one is for the city of Westminster. This is a wayfinding sign program. We did some brown wayfinding signs around the county. Cities do a little more decorative whenever they get them in town. So they have been working on a program that will give them some a little more decorative. They've got a new brand within their city, and so they're working on a series of 5 new wayfinding signs. This is to design, fabricate, and install 5 of them. The budget was $2,000 for it was up to $2,000 for the design, and then it was $10,000 for the fabrication and ordering of the signs themselves and install. We funded all of our wayfinding signs out of this, so to be consistent with how I did that before, then I made all of theirs eligible. Typically, we look at some things on budget-based, but since I had already had a precedent where we had already done that and paid for it out of A-Tax, I continued that on to this and made those all eligible as well. I do not have a layout of exactly where they're going in the city. I just know there's 5 of them that highlight the layout of the city.
There was, I didn't print it, but online you could look and see a picture of the one that's in Montana that they are kind of copying. I didn't print it, but it was online.
And this wayfinding sign program, this is tied in with their work on downtown
It is.
streetscape?
Mhm.
Yes? Okay.
Any other questions? All right, the next one is for Devils Fork State Park, tent pad rehabilitation. Request is for $7,500. You can see the total project budget. You can see the tourism impact of their reservations over the past year and their numbers. This is to rebuild, they originally were going to do 10. They just sent an email and backed it down a little bit. They were gonna input 20,000 on their side, and now they're only gonna be able to put in about 8,000 on their side. They're still eligible for, the full amount based on the budget. And this is for the rock that will go in for those tent pads. So this is a very specific request for the rock, for them to build those tent pads. Any questions on Devils Fork State Park?
Is Devils Fork still our largest contributor to ATAX?
It's the largest state park
State park.
contributor.
Gotcha.
We've since added a couple of lodging properties that are a little more than that now.
Okay.
The next one is Discover Upcountry. This is a repeat request. Many of you are familiar with Discover Upcountry. They're charged with assisting and marketing the 6 northwest counties of the state, Anderson, Oconee, Pickens, Greenville, Spartanburg, and Cherokee. They do that through a number of mediums. You can see across the top exactly how these funds will be used. A lot of these ads are co-op opportunities between Discover Upcountry and Ken and Visit Oconee, where we get a lot of coverage in magazines that we sometimes would not participate in, but we do it jointly through Discover Upcountry. They are eligible for the entire amount. It's a big number, but they are eligible for all that. Any questions on Discover Upcountry? The next one is Downtown Seneca Merchant Association. This is advertising for the Art and Wine Festival, Sip and Stroll, I believe is the correct name. This is a request for $1,800, specifically for Greenville News and Western North Carolina Advertising. Based on the application and last year's numbers, estimated 50% of the visitors were, attendance were visitors. Total project budget was $5,800, making them eligible for the entire $1,800 that they're requesting.
And just to be clear, this is a 501c3, the association?
The
This is a
Downtown
non-
Seneca
This is a
Merchants
nonprofit
is a
organization?
nonprofit.
Okay.
No questions? Okay. And the next one is Eagles Nest Art Center in Tomasi. This is a request for $3,000 to assist in advertising their shows. The application showed both, going off memory, it was 4 and 4, I believe it was like 12 shows, or 6. Yeah, 6 performance shows, and 8 concerts. So you had 14 events, they're requesting assistance with. Their total project budget was $39,350 for the year. So well within, the percentage there to be able to qualify for everything they're asking for. So they are eligible for all of that. The next one is Main Street Walhalla. This is for, that should not say Walhalla Wonderland, sorry. That was last year, I didn't change it. This is for seasonal brochures for Main Street Walhalla. They are requesting $5,160. It was a very specific request based on them doing brochures 4 times a year for niche events throughout the year. With it being that request and only for the brochures, they don't really have a tourism impact. So they don't have enough data to share. We use 40% when that happens. And that's common throughout the county. So based on that, they're eligible for $2,075 of the specific request. Questions on that? And those brochures will be used, they'll send them to all the welcome centers as well as some local use as well, which is another reason we pulled it down just a little bit, because they had a lot of local use of the brochures.
Like rank cards?
I'm sorry?
Like,
Well,
they're
they'll be folded.
Yeah, it's a trifold,
Yeah.
yeah, front and back trifold. All right, the next one is the Twenty County Chamber. This is a request for $15,000 to assist with visitor center staffing and relocation. The total budget is $21,650. Per their application, 90% is devoted to visitors. We had some questions last time about the chamber and the visitor services. Derry's here. Told her to give her a few minutes if you want to share about what this looks like for the chamber moving forward, and let you guys ask questions if you have any.
Okay, so, I don't know how many of you are familiar with.
You'll have to come, I'm sorry.
Oh, I need to come. All right, no problem.
Just so the mic picks you up.
Oh, okay, no worries.
Thank you.
So you guys were gracious, have been gracious, when we started this project to go ahead and fund part of the staffing and the initial kind of move in to City Hall location, which is where we've been. And right now, because we're growing, because the area is growing, Westminster added 2 charging stations for EV vehicles in the parking lot. They've redone the parking lot to make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. And so we are, we're gonna move to the City Hall, beside City Hall in the old magistrate's office. And I don't know if any of you have been up there, but it needs quite a bit of work done to that front office. And so Ken was actually up there with me, and he can speak to it as well, but we're going to actually put graphics and take the sandwich board sign that we have right now that just currently has the chamber on it. We're gonna put that it's like a visitor center satellite location, however we decide to word that, we're gonna work on that together. And then there'll be graphics on the window. And so we feel like it's gonna increase the visitors traffic exponentially from what we're getting. We do get some, but not as much as we would hope and like. And so we're working on that project. So the majority of these funds, staffing will be part of it because she will be out there set hours and answering questions and things like that. Andrea Harbin, the staff member that we hired this spring, she took Rebecca Grubbs' place, who was the original person that some of this funding helped support. And so it's a bigger amount because we're doing a bigger redo of that space that we think is going to increase the visitors' traffic.
So-
Anything you want to add from visitor on the side?
Yeah, I mean, that we're gonna have a presence there, and I think given the scope of development over the next few years by the city with their new city overview, their overlay, and they're trying to clean up that one section, and they're doing a lot of visitor areas, grassed areas, cleaning up sidewalks. They're doing a lot of work to improve the look of the city of Westminster. So we feel that it's to our benefit to have a presence there too, and we can do that as a partner with the chambers.
So, from what I can remember, because it's right next to the police department, pretty much. Walk in, you got that main space with the glass out front.
Yep.
A couple restrooms, I think,
Yeah.
out front. And then there's like, I guess what used to be where the court was in the back. So what ideally would y'all like to do with that rear part of the space?
Well, what we're
And
talking,
the
what we're
ideas
talking
was-
about right now is actually kind of setting it up as a meeting room so that businesses and residents and, any other organizations that want to come into town can use that space. The city has a kind of more of a 2-year plan, but we've met with Kevin and he's fine with that. And we talked about that space, so the visitor center would occupy the front of it, and the grant request includes brochure racks and all that kind of signage and everything like that. And so that space right now would just be used for a meeting space. But the majority of the front, and then of course the restrooms would be open to the public as well. And with those charging stations, they need a place to go. And by having somebody there that can direct them to some of the things going on there in Westminster, but also the whole county, to encourage them to stay, and we're catching them right away, then I think it'll be a benefit to let people that maybe not would have planned on making a Coney County a stop,
Yeah.
decide to go ahead and stay, if not the time they're passing through, but come back. Any other
Any
questions?
questions?
Any questions, everybody?
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, the next one is the Upstate Heritage Quilt Trail, maybe listed as their county conservatory on their grant as well. They're requesting $1,862. This is to assist with some printed advertising, their website, and some additional interpretive signage. They started a couple of years ago, starting to interpret each quilt. And so they're working their way, continuing to work their way through that. So this will help them do that, give someone something to read when they stop to see those quilts. They are eligible. You can see the total project budget. They're eligible for the entire 1862.
And did you know that Ms. Fall is retiring from this?
Yes.
Okay.
No questions? The next one is the South Carolina Bigfoot Festival. There's a request for $5,000 for printed advertising, website, and signage. They are, you can see the 2019, they haven't done this since COVID, so this is bringing this back. I know they're working with our staff at Shaw Ram to do a few things, some trail hikes, hide and seek, whatever you want to call it, finding Bigfoot along the trail there at Shaw Ram. But their estimated tourism percentage is smaller. However, their project budget is up to $28,000, so it still gets them eligible for 4,241 of the 5,000 they requested. So, they haven't got anything the previous 2 years. They did in 2019 receive $500. So that was their receipts back in 2019.
I failed to bring my printed copy, and I was trying to pull it up, but what were the dates on that?
September the
It's coming up like in a couple of weeks, right?
No,
No, because
it's,
Apple Festival is,
Apple
Apple Festival is
Festival.
September. Is that October?
hang on. It's October 13th through the 14th. I was thinking September 23rd.
Yeah, my festival's wrong, sorry.
Lots of good stuff happening. Okay. The next one is the Walhalla Performing Arts Center. Total request of $15,000 to assist in advertising the following winter shows through the Greenville radio market, digital campaigns, and brochures. You can see the data there for the Performing Arts Center, the total budget, the total impact, continues to thrive and bring in amazing shows. Mark is here if there's any questions. They are eligible for the entire $15,000 and continue to do a great job. One of our biggest impacts of tourism here in Oklahoma, by far. Any questions on Performing Arts Center? Two more. Westminster Music Center, this is a request for $10,000 for their musical main series. This is a series of 4 outdoor concerts that they do in coordination with the city of Westminster. You can see their total budget didn't really have an impact, so I used 40% again, kind of a standard number, and you can see where that gets them eligible for their $10,000. Their grant budget does break down the cost of the headline band plus the open band, as well as their marketing and their hospitality costs for each of those events. So they are eligible for the $10,000. And the last one, Wild Hearts Equine Therapeutic Center. You can remember they came to us in the spring for their first time ever. They continue to work on constructing and continuing that education and enrichment space there at the center. We were able to award them $3,500 in the spring. This is a continuation of that request to continue that project. They are eligible for the full $99.88. You can see their visitation based on their events in the past is right at 25%. And you can see the total outfit of that center is right at $69,000. So they are eligible for it and are looking to continue that as funds allow. All right, so we have 13 total grants. Mr. Chair, you tell me if y'all need to go back through them again, if you're ready to put the spreadsheet up. I'm at your disposal.
Do we need a review any of this one more time, or are we ready?
I think we're good. Phil, I'm probably gonna have to recuse myself on the Downtown Seneca Merchant Association.
Okay.
Because I'm a member.
Sure.
So,
We've got a,
I think I put a recusal sheet up there
okay.
with where you're sitting.
you'll just recuse from any discussion or anything
Yeah.
on that.
And if it's okay with everybody, I got like some just starting conservative numbers.
Yep.
And so I'll just throw them all up and then we just adjust from there. That's okay.
Yep, works
Okay.
for me.
All right, so, for CM Seneca, I said, 7,500. Start, okay. City of Westminster for the wayfinding, I start with, 5. Devil's Fork, start with 5. Discover Upcountry, start with 7. Sip and Stroll, start with, 1K. Same thing for Eagles Nest, 1K. Main Street Walhalla start with 1K. Then Chambers start with 5K. The Quilt Trail start with 1K. And then Bigfoot Festival start with 1K. Performing Arts Series start with 7K. Westminster Music Center start with 6K. And then Wild Heart Equine start with 4K. Okay. All right.
All right.
All right.
What do y'all think about adding 2,000 to the Walhalla Performing Arts Center? Is you're suggesting 60,000, correct? As-
60,000, up to 60.
Yeah, I mean,
It's one of our bigger
given,
draws.
yeah, given their contribution and performance, I would say 2,000 on that and Devil's Fork State Park, each of those.
I was thinking that on the, just on the, I lost my numbers here. The instead of 1,000 on the Sip and Stroll, just go ahead and bump that to 18. And also on the Quilted Trail to 1,800.
What do y'all think about going to 2,000 on the Bigfoot Festival? Total of 2,000.
Yeah, here's something to consider too, guys. I was looking back at the last year, and if I'm looking at it correctly, Westminster didn't really make of any sort, really, a request. So, you know, you have the city of Westminster making a request, and the Bigfoot Festival, and the Westminster Music Center, and they're on a roll right now. They're trying to, you know, improvements and so forth, so we may want to consider, if we have a little extra money, is putting it toward some of those projects in Westminster as well. None one in particular, but
Would that be, I mean, if I'm correct, the Chamber's request is in Westminster, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
would that be better to put it there than toward, not just the festival, but something that'll be manned and staffed continuously?
So if we, so the, trying to see if I find it. Take the Quilt Trail from 18 back to 1,000. And then you want to keep the 18 for the Sip and Stroll?
I was just thinking maybe for the Chamber, instead of 5, just bump that to 7. That puts us at and then take 100 off of somewhere, and right there.
So my 2 cents worth, and I know we're not talking about a lot of money, but at the same time, I think if we have a precedent set that we're 100% funding one and nobody else, I think I'd rather not do that. I mean, great organization, I'm not saying not, and I'm not saying we gotta cut it in half either, but I just think we ought to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So go back to 1,000 on the Sip and Stroll and on the trail?
Yeah. Okay, so 15.
What do y'all think about 6,500 on the wayfinding signage for the city?
That would make it 60, right?
And then we could take 1,000 from the Devil's Fork project and then put that again towards the Westminster. That'd still be mostly funding the Devil's Fork.
Yeah.
That project.
So take off 1,000
Yep.
from Devil's Fork.
So go to 6,000 on that.
And then put the 1,000 toward,
I'd do the visitor center relocation,
Yeah.
toward Chamber.
yeah, the 8,000, make it 8,000.
hey, Phil, just a quick question on that Wild Heart Equine Center, what kind of impact does that have actually on people coming in and visiting our restaurants,
So a lot
hotels,
of,
and
well, a lot of them come
recreation?
into town and eat when they're done. She does a lot of specialty classes, therapeutic classes.
Okay.
You know, a lot of them, she's actually got some short-term rentals on site there, at the property that she utilizes as well. They're looking to kick up and do some concert series stuff, but right now it's all therapeutic, specialty stuff. But they're here overnight typically, and they're in the area.
Okay.
If you get a chance to go out and see it, it's a really cool venue.
I'm pretty comfortable with where we are.
We good with this, y'all? Okay.
The only thing I'm looking at is if we wanted to put something somewhere else, is the Race for the Green. We could go down to 6,500.
So we trimmed down 6.5. Where would you like to put the?
That's what there were a few things that were under 50% funded, and then that was sort of significantly, I mean, that was 75% funded.
All right, so let's go ahead and take it, Race for the Green down to 65.
Gonna throw 500 at the Eagles Nest. Kind of in that 50% range.
Then same with the Wild Hearts. I mean, that would put it really close to 50% there.
Mr. Chamber, may I interject a comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would just encourage you to think about long-term use of the funding. And I think the chamber investment in that, in this particular program would be a long-term investment in the presence of tourism in Westminster. And this is a one-time investment in getting those signage and brochure racks up.
Take it out of the music center. That would leave us at 50% of the Westminster Music Center. And if you want to dedicate it toward the,
Just move 1,000 up.
yeah,
So take 1,000 out of that one.
right, and that leaves it at 50%. And
Okay.
if we want to concentrate on Ken's recommendation, then we'll do that.
This ain't too bad. How we feel?
I feel pretty good about it.
Y'all good? Good? We good? Yeah.
So we'll need a motion for each one of
Each.
these, and then if you are
Motion in a second.
a recusal, just make that known.
All right, so let's, start from the top. I'd like to make a motion that we, PRT Commission makes a recommendation for, $6,500 for the city of Seneca for Race for the Green.
Second.
All right, any discussion on that? All's in favor?
Right. I'd like to make a motion that the PRT Commission fund $6,500 for the City of Westminster design, fabricate, and install wayfinding signage.
Second? Okay. All those in favor? Okay. I'd like to make a motion for PRT Commission to fund $6,000 toward Devil's Fork State Park for the tent pad rehabilitation project.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. I'd like to make a motion that the PRT Commission fund $7,000 for advertising for Discover Upcountry South Carolina.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion that the PRT Commission fund $1,000 for the Downtown Seneca Merchants Association, Sip and Stroll.
I recuse myself from that.
All right, I'll second that. All those in favor? Okay. I'd like to make a motion that PRT Commission fund $1,500 for advertising for Eagles Nest Arts Center.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Okay. I'd like to make a motion that PRT Commission recommend $1,000 for advertising for Main Street Walhalla.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Okay. I'd like to make a motion that PRT Commission recommend $9,000 for the Visitor Center relocation and staffing for the Oconee County Chamber of Commerce.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Okay. I'd like to make a motion that PRT Commission recommend $1,000 for the interpretive signage at 4 sites for the Oconee Conservatory Upstate Heritage Quilt Trail.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. I'd like to make a motion that PRT Commission recommend $2,000 be funded to advertising for the South Carolina Bigfoot Festival.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion that the PRT Commission fund $9,000 for the advertising fall and winter season at the Walhalla Performing Arts Center.
Second it. All those in favor? Okay, almost there. I'd like to make a motion that PRT Commission recommend the funding for $5,000 go toward advertising for the Westminster Music Center.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? All right, last one. I'd like to make a motion that the PRT Commission recommend $4,500 in funding for advertising for Wild Hearts Equine Center.
Second.
Okay. And all those in favor? All right.
That's an open. So I have one PRT item today. We, as you all know, we maintain 10 Lake Hartwell landings around Lake Hartwell. I have a crew that goes out. 4 of those have restrooms, picnic areas. 2 of them have playgrounds, swimming areas. But we cut grass, pick up trash, clean restrooms, 7-day-a-week operation. So we're out there every day. We are at a point where it's taking us 2 mowers at a time to get all that stuff done. And a trailer that we currently have only holds 1 mower, and weed eater. And so I'm in need of expanding the size of that trailer for that crew. So this is a quote for a tandem axle trailer that our motor pool has approved for us, 7x14, big enough to hold 2 zero-turn mowers for us to be able to get to. It's going to speed up our process a little bit, be a little more efficient, a little less time on the road, if you will. But this is a request to utilize $4,000 to purchase that trailer to add to our Lake Hartwell crew. That's a request internally for your consideration.
We need a motion.
We would.
I'll make a motion that we fund the $4,000 for the trailer.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Kevin.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Very good. The next meeting is November the 16th here in council chambers at noon. That'll be we won't have any grants. That'll be our kind of our catch-up, our project. I'll do a capital project overview. I'll also do a local tax and state aid tax overview as well, which we're doing really good at. Any questions?
Can I ask a couple questions?
Sure.
Phil? So, So I had a chance to watch the last county council meeting
Uh-huh.
where a couple items for PRT came up. So just to kind of, now you're here, what is the update as far as the Cannon House? And also with the, I guess, the shed?
Maintenance shed?
Yeah, where's
So
that
the
stand right
Alexander
now?
Cannon Hill House, council basically postponed that until next week. That gives me a chance to meet with them individually and give a little more detail on the Alexander Cannon Hill House. So I've met with one out there already, and I meet with two more tomorrow.
Okay.
And, so we're going through the historical significance of the house, the work that needs to be done, and kind of breaking down the scope of the project for them, so that they can see that, you know, this is more structural related, it's not really aesthetically related.
Yeah.
So that they can come back and make a decision.
Okay.
The Westminster Maintenance Building, we're gonna take to the October Real Estate Committee, and allow us a chance to have some discussion with council in that committee format to talk about our request, what it is we're looking for. You know, we're kind of looking at the long term of Chaw Ram, knowing that we added 200 acres here recently. So this is gonna serve a bigger purpose than just what they're used to seeing.
Yes.
So it's a little bigger building probably than they were anticipating. So this will give us a chance to have some discussion on where it's at, the size, why I'm asking what I'm asking, and then take it through the committee route and then hopefully get it back to council.
Okay. And I think last time we had a chance to talk, I think there's still a master plan that you're still working on for High Falls as well as.
There's still a master plan coming for High Falls and Chaw Ram.
Okay,
We have just been inundated with projects that we're trying to get clear enough to add those two things to the pot, because that'll be a lot of public involvement, a lot of time consuming, and I wanna make sure I got enough staff time to be able to do that.
last thing, what's the word you've been hearing about Seneca Creek Landing?
Seneca Creek Landing is full a lot. I personally used it on Saturday last week, and there's 49 parking spots. There may have been 5 or 6 open. It's pretty regular, and it's not just boats. You know, some of our partners who rent boats, some of our fishing guides are using it as headquarters, so you got a lot of single cars using the single car side.
Yeah.
The fishing dock is every night you see lights on the fishing dock, it's being used. And then the kayak launch is becoming more popular as people realize it's over there.
It's a beautiful location because my office is not far from there, as a matter of fact. Let me ask you this, is there the behind where the restrooms are, that shed that's there, I know there's like 3 or 4 picnic tables?
There's 5.
There's 5. Is there talk about in the future about maybe possibly creating like maybe an umbrella or shedding, you know, for those tables, or what's the thought there?
We didn't originally do that. I'm not opposed to looking at something like that down the road. We also talked about a trail that may connect it over to university property, which if we did that, is probably when we would consider something like that.
Okay.
Allowing people to walk back and forth and utilize it for lunch and things like that.
Okay. So, anybody have any other questions? Then, I make a motion that we adjourn.